Have some news for you on this Sunday. 49ers quarterback Brock Purdy has supplied us with another 49ers QB update. He is engaged. There you go. That is Brock Purdy's new fiance, Jenna. So off-field news for the 49ers. Purdy posted this on Instagram this morning. If you want to see some of the pictures, we can go through them. On a lake somewhere, not sure, but the family was on the pontoon boat over there for the surprise. Some nice photos from Brock Purdy's engagement. So what are we at right now? July 2nd. I'm guessing this happened on July 1st, about 25 days away from 49ers training camp. You're going to have the veterans report, I believe, on July 25th, the rookies a week ahead of that on July 24th. But we'll keep the pictures up there just very briefly. Big personal news for Brock Purdy, and he shared it with the world on Instagram. So congratulations to him. That is the news of the day. Anyway, 49ers Q&A. We can open this right up to that 49ers Q&A because we got the Brock Purdy is engaged news right away. Not trying to be TMZ here, but it is the 49ers quarterback, and it is the 49ers quarterback in a big life moment for him, handling it in the dead period of the off season. So let's go with these questions right now. I know I think Mike's down at the beach this weekend. Mike, he's in the Central Valley normally. He's down in Visalia, and I think it's like 110 degrees there. So he's like, I'm getting to the beach, but Mike still is aboard right here. Post your questions. Mike, are you still at the beach right now, or are you back? How hot is it in Visalia right now? That's what I want to know. It's pretty hot out here in Nashville, but there was this thunderstorm yesterday that broke the heat. So post your questions. It's 49ers Q&A time. Let's have a little bit of fun here. On a Sunday morning for most of you back on the West Coast, it is in Central Time. It's 12:13 p.m., so I'd say Sunday afternoon. And I know that we have viewers all around the world, so might even be Sunday evening for other people. Can it be Monday morning at some point? I guess if you cross the international date line, right? What time is it right now in Japan? Tokyo time. I'm putting this in onto Google. 2:14 a.m. So it's Monday. Yeah, it's Monday morning in Japan. They're on the other side of that international date line. That's crazy. I want to go to Japan. I think we're planning to go there next April. I think that's right around cherry blossom season. I've heard that Japan and Tokyo get really humid if you go in like July or August. So I think April might be a good time to go check that out. I know that we definitely have some viewers from Japan. I've seen them in the comment section before. All right. When does training camp end? That is our first question. This comes from Brandon Hollenbeck. Well, let me take a look at my calendar so I can answer this accurately. Here we go. Have it open. So training camp opens on the 25th. First practice should be on the 26th. I'm going down through the calendar now. We have the 49ers Raiders joint practices on the 10th and the 11th of August. The first preseason game against the Raiders is on August 13th. Then cut down days on August 29th. So that's going to be essentially the end of training camp is cut down day, August 29th. Then there's that Labor Day weekend where we have a little bit of a break after training camp before you get into the first week of the season. First practice for the Pittsburgh Steelers for the 49ers is going to be on Wednesday, September 6th. So I'd say for all intents and purposes, training camp ends on August 29th. And they might even say that it opens earlier, closes earlier, because that final preseason game, week 3 of the preseason, which is going to be somewhere around August 27th. I have to take a look at the schedule. You treat that as the dress rehearsal for the regular season, so you don't have training camp practices anymore. You run normal week practices on the week of August 23rd, 24th, and 25th. So I think training camp, you could say, probably ends on August 18th, but it's still, we'll still say it's camp through August 29th, which is cut down day. Good question, though. Will Brock be lost for the season after this incident, after being engaged? Let's hope not. Let's hope that this is happy news moving forward. Unrelated to the quarterback room, a question here from Travis. What's going on with Elijah Mitchell? Do you think Mason will end up being running back number 2? Well, Mitchell's had so many injuries here over his first 2 seasons. He had like 5 injuries as a rookie in 2021, was able to play through most of them. Last season, the MCL wasn't able to play through that, and he's had a ding or two this offseason program, and that kept him out of some of those OTA practices. Kyle Shanahan termed it as minor. It obviously can be concerning from the outside since Mitchell has already missed so much time. So we'll keep our eye on that. I think Elijah Mitchell is more versatile than Jordan Mason. He's a really good back, right? Elijah Mitchell is. They actually have a nickname for Elijah Mitchell. It's Drano because he's able to find the hole so effectively. He'd be a great 1-2 punch with Christian McCaffrey if he's healthy. And then you have Jordan Mason as that change of pace closer at 225 pounds. That being said, if Mitchell's hurt, then yes, Jordan Mason's going to be running back number 2 in all likelihood. 49ers hope that Elijah Mitchell's health luck is better this season. The 49ers are always looking to add players if somebody fits their roster, but they would have to cut somebody at this point for it to work. So the scouting department is always working to see who might be available on a waiver wire or in free agency. But I think, one of the positions where they might be looking to add at the right price is edge rusher opposite of Nick Bosa, but it's going to be hard to find an impact name at the price that the 49ers are looking for, which is not very high because of the cap space they're going to need to preserve for next season. They're going to keep an eye on that market, though, and if a bargain presents itself, then they could pounce on it. Such a pro QB, securing that household, one less distraction for the regular season. Yeah, I mean, I'm not a quarterback, obviously, but what my engagement I proposed in April of 2021, right? Yeah, that was off-season stuff. You had to do it during the off-season. And April's kind of the dead period for me covering the team. It's before the NFL draft. I think pre-NFL draft is total speculation time, right? You're not going to really be able to report anything of substance. So I find April to be a dead period. That's when I want to go to Japan next year. And I find July to be the ultimate dead period. Brock Purdy, first day of July. That is the desert as far as the NFL news cycle goes. Do I think that Jair Brown will start over to Sean Gibson at any point this season? Well, I mean, so I'm guessing you're asking free of injuries. I think you're asking, is Jair Brown going to leapfrog to Sean Gibson? I mean, if Brown continues impressing the 49ers, he can surge into a starting spot. But I think it would require DeSean Gibson to really show his age this year, which he did not at age 32 last season. DeSean Gibson was top 3 in 2 separate metrics, tackling and pass coverage last season at a safety position at age 32 for the 49ers. So that's not a guy that you're just going to sit down. Now, if he starts struggling at age 33, might be an injury-fueled thing, right? At age 33, that could be something that spurs that. Then you would start giving serious consideration to the guy behind him. Now, Jair Brown had like 4 or 5 interceptions during OTAs, had 10 interceptions over the past 2 seasons at Penn State in college. This guy's a real nose for the football. The 49ers really, really like this player. So much so that they're already talking about 3 safety sets to make sure that he sees the field alongside DeSean Gibson and Talanoa Hufanga. But to leapfrog Gibson, it's going to take a couple things. It's going to take Brown extending this stellar play into actual games in the NFL season, and it's going to take DeSean Gibson taking a step back. And again, that step back can happen due to injuries. It is football. Those are a realistic part of the game. Gregis Khan doesn't think that's going to happen this season. When will York extend Kyle Shanahan? There was an extension, a couple of years ago? I forgot when the last one was. The Shanahan and Lynch are under contract for a long time. So there is no pressing need for a contract extension right now. If the 49ers win a Super Bowl, there will be pressing needs for contract extensions because that usually earns someone a pay raise, and you want that bump in both pay and job security. So why don't we cross this bridge when we get to it, depending on how the 49ers do this season. Yeah, you can't jettisoning Elijah Mitchell just because you're upset that he has gotten injured too much. might not be the smartest thing for the 49ers because he is very, very talented. He fits the 49ers scheme to a T. Another great example of them drafting specifically in the later rounds to find somebody who fits. Now, you just have to hope that that health bill becomes better because Elijah Mitchell's a great outside zone runner, and he is really, really fit like a glove into that 49ers system. In 2020, the 49ers signed Shanahan to a 6-year contract extension, locking him in to the franchise to the 2025 season. So this is not true. There would only be 1 year left if Shanahan was on his original contract, but the 49ers extended Shanahan in 2020, so that should lock him through the 2025 season. And that means that we have 2023 ahead of us, 2024, and then 2025. 3 seasons left on Shanahan's deal. So he's not anywhere near that lame duck season yet. So if you're the 49ers, you can just sit back and see how things develop. Those of you just joining, 49ers quarterback update is that Brock Purdy is engaged. If you want to see Brock Purdy and his engagement to his now fiancee, Jenna, I've got you right here. There is Brock, including a Buffalo Wild Wings advertisement on his Instagram down on the right. But Brock Purdy engaged. Congratulations to him taking care of this business in the heart of the offseason. Why don't we resume the 49ers Q&A? Jason Verrett remains a free agent, but I don't know. I haven't heard an update on the Jason Verrett situation in a while. I don't know if he's trying to come back or if that's going to be it for him. I don't think anybody would blame him if he decided to retire after he had another season-ending injury last year. So maybe the 49ers are waiting on progress update from Jason Verrett before they decide whether or not they're interested in a flyer deal for him. You want Chase Young in a 49ers uniform, huh? Chase Young would cost some money and Chase Young would cost some draft capital. And I don't think the 49ers, they might be willing to part with draft capital for a star player. But I'm not calling Chase Young a star player. I think he's a solid pass rusher, but the money portion is what's tricky right now because this team is trying to be cap sustainable moving into the future. Hope I make it to Brock Purdy's bachelor party, huh? I wonder where it's going to be. I did mine in Vegas. Very basic of me, but you guys already knew that. Mike has a question. If an injury happens, which position would you be concerned that they have to lean into? So are you, just to clarify, I think that Mike is asking where the 49ers are thinnest, where would there be most concern? I've maintained that it's either offensive line or cornerback. Both of those positions, I'm not sure of the 49ers depth. There's going to be some proving grounds that have to happen. Yeah, and Mike is asking about depth. So I would say offensive line, namely the tackle spots. It'll be interesting to see who grabs that swing tackle position for the 49ers. They have Matt Pryor on the football team. Jalen Moore is still on the team, right? So Colton McKivitz is a question mark to start at right tackle, right? We need to see what he has as a starter. 49ers obviously believe in him, but that question still does need to be answered by Colton McKivitz on the field. And then you do need more than just your starting lineman. In a long NFL season, it is very necessary to have depth up front. It's also very necessary to have depth at corner because you're only as good as your worst corner. Speaking of that, I wrote on Isaiah Oliver the other day. I think that I already made a video about this, but this is my latest article. I've got a big one coming out tomorrow on the 49ers and their spending, so be sure to check that out. That's going to be on The Athletic. But since we're talking about cornerback depth right now, we might as well put this up on the screen. This is going to be at that nickel spot. By Isaiah Oliver can play outside in a pinch. He just isn't as good on the outside. He doesn't have that straight line speed that I think you want an outside cornerback to have on some of those deeper concepts. But playing in close quarters on the inside, Isaiah Oliver, he's going to be interesting because a lot of teams are running, these big slot concepts now, almost copying the 49ers. They've got guys like Jawan Jennings. They're flexing tight ends out into the slot. Your nickelback has to be able to physically handle them. And Isaiah Oliver at 6'1", 205 pounds, maybe even 210. He's somebody that can physically handle some of these bigger targets who line up in the slot. That's what he's geared toward. 49ers defense is trying to grow more adaptable so they can handle concepts like their own, throw them back into their own face, right? With that big slot position. Yeah, the 49ers could absolutely cut Chris Conley. I mean, if you look at the 49ers depth chart, I have Conley not making the team. I don't know where this article was written, but maybe it was based on my projection. This is my running 49ers roster projection. If you go to the receiver room, I have Chris Conley over on the right side of the line right here, projected to not make the team. Conley's a 30-year-old. He's fast, but Danny Gray is in his lower 20s and he's fast. I almost think that Conley and Gray might be competing for a roster spot, with Gray having an advantage due to his rookie contract. But anybody can impress in training camp. Anybody's got a shot. I just would not be shocked if Chris Conley didn't make the team or becomes a practice squad kind of guy. He's done that before in his career. So it's, as a free agent pickup, this is something where he's definitely, 1-year deal. He's definitely not guaranteed a roster spot. Lenoir did not always get burned deep last year. He got burned deep a lot earlier in his season, and then he was locked down in the playoffs. So he obviously got better at that deep coverage, at spotting the football, tracking the ball, tracking receivers on those deep patterns. His passer ratings allowed down the stretch were awesome. I wonder if I have this. No, I don't. I had a text title, but I deleted it. I made a video about Diamond Lenoir the other day. I think in 8 of the first 13 games or something like that, he gave up a passer rating of. I have it on Twitter. I don't want to give you guys incorrect information, so let me get on Twitter and let me read this to you. Right here, Diamond Lenoir allowed a passer rating of over 100 into his coverage 7 times during the 2022 season. But then in the playoffs, 3 games in the playoffs, here were the passer ratings that Lenoir allowed into his coverage: 20.8, 39.3, 39.6. Those are all terrible passer ratings. So Lenoir was awesome in the postseason after struggling a bit, you're right, in the regular season, but he wasn't getting burnt deep anymore in the postseason. So, I think that Diamond Lenoir figured something out down the stretch, and that's why the 49ers are so excited about him this year. Conley can absolutely be a gunner on special teams, and if he's going to make the roster, he's going to have to be one with that kind of speed. And he's not going to be one of the top 3 receivers, right? So he's going to have to contribute on special teams, and that kind of speed can be a gunner. Britt is really excited for Brock. Why are fans still insisting on comparing Brock and Trey's stats to Jimmy? What are they trying to achieve? Well, I compare the stats sometimes too. I'm trying to look at efficiency of how somebody runs the offense. I'm not looking at total yards, touchdowns, all that. I'm looking at actual stats, like actual, EPA, the DVOA efficiency that can give us the nuance that we need. And one thing that Brock Purdy really, I think, surprised people with, including the 49ers, he came in and there wasn't much of a drop off from Jimmy Garoppolo in terms of efficiency, right? And that, to me, showcased that Brock Purdy is the leader in the clubhouse moving forward, because Trey Lance hasn't been able to approach Jimmy Garoppolo's efficiency yet. Small sample size. Brock Purdy has been able to. So we have to look at these numbers, because data is the only thing that's going to honestly pull us through some of these maddening quarterback discussions. So much subjectivity when people discuss 49ers quarterbacks. Well, let's bring some objectivity into it. And that's what some of these numbers are able to do. I believe that Jimmy Garoppolo is on track to play this year for the Raiders, although I'm not following it nearly as closely. I don't know if he'll be in those training camp joint practices against the 49ers. I think it would be awesome if he was in early August. What a story that would be, right? To see the 49ers defense practice against Jimmy Garoppolo in a Raiders uniform. That's early on, though, so maybe he won't be ready yet. I think that this is a good question. DeSean Jamison was good in OTAs, but he was working against the third team, knocking away a lot of passes. But you put on his tape at Texas, this guy's an electric returner. And If he makes the football team this year, DeSean Jamison, I think the return game is going to have a big, big part of his making of the team. So go and check out the highlight tape of DeSean Jamison if you haven't already. You'll see a couple of insane punt returns over playing for the Texas Longhorns. If Brock's injury hurts his performance this year and he's not the same, then what do you do? Well, that's why the 49ers have built option power in the quarterback room. That's why they have Sam Darnold on the team now. That's why Trey Lance is competing right now. Because, yes, football has a lot of variables that you don't necessarily know how they're going to fill out. So you give yourself as many options as possible. That is key. So, you haven't really asked a specific question, but if Brock is 95% of his original self, well, then, you still go with Brock Purdy. But if he's 50% of his original self, something crazy happens, and obviously you have better options on the roster in Darnold or Lance. So just cross that bridge when you get to it, because you don't have enough detailed information right now to make a judgment, but you'll have that detailed information in the future. Do I think that Brock Purdy is going to have post-injury fear? I have no idea, man. This would be total speculation on my part. Let's just let this play out. Let's see what happens. Any more questions? I know there's been a lot. I might have missed a few up here. Danny Gray looked better, I thought, in OTAs. Thought he dropped a few passes, but he looked like more of a guy in OTAs, a little bit more presence in OTAs. So he took a step forward, but he still has more steps forward to take. All right, news of the day was Brock Purdy is engaged. I know I showed you the roster. Well, now I can go back to Brock Purdy's Instagram because this is the news of the day. Brock Purdy engaged. Congratulations to him. That is his fiance, Jenna, formerly titled his girlfriend, now titled his fiance. So that is the 49ers QB update of the day. Everybody like the video, subscribe to the channel. Hopefully you enjoyed the Q&A. If you've got more questions, put them in the comment section. Maybe we'll get to them in the next video. See you guys next time. Thank you for the time. Everybody, good afternoon. Maybe good morning if you're on the West Coast. All right, bye now.